If you do anything with editing, you know how tedious keyframing can be. So in this episode, I'm going to be showing you a method that I use to try to make it so I don't have to do keyframing almost at all while I'm doing editing. Let's go ahead and hop into it. A lot of brand new editors, when they're editing, tend to just keyframe everything, which I think ends up taking a lot more time than it really should. So for example, if you had your product on a screen and you're just trying to add a simple rotation and a zoom in, what a lot of people are going to do is they're going to go ahead and click the zoom button and the rotate keyframe over here. We're going to go forward and then they're going to zoom in and then rotate also, which is completely fine to do. That didn't take too long. And now you have this nice little zoom in rotation on your product. The problem with that is if you have to do that for every single clip, that's going to take a lot of time. And I know that the new keyframe editor over here is really awesome and you can do a lot of really fast things with the keyframe editor. But again, it just takes more time if you're always doing that. So a better way to do that is to use anim curves. And let me show you exactly what anim curves are. Anim curves are keyframes that you can create one time and then use over and over for whatever period or duration of a clip. So if I go into here in my presets, I have the zoom rotation. I'm going to go ahead and grab this, put it right here. And what this is going to do is the duration of this adjustment layer is going to create a zoom and a rotation. So as you can see, it is doing a zoom and rotation right there on the two clips that this is above. Now, if you only want this to affect one clip, all you have to do is just click here and turn this into a compound clip, and then it'll only affect the clip that it is compounded with. So right now we have that, and if I change the length of this, you can see it'll change how much it'll actually be doing that zoom in and that rotation. And if I go all the way to the end, it'll go ahead and just do it very, very slowly. So let's go ahead and just make this a little bit smaller. And so these are anim curves using adjustment layers, and I no longer have to do keyframing to do a zoom in or a rotation. And I can always increase the rotation on this, and I can increase the zoom in also. So let's go ahead and see how you can actually create these anim curves. Let's go ahead and make this a 2-second clip right here. Head over to Effects, go to the top and grab an adjustment clip. I'm gonna put that adjustment clip on top, cut it the same length, and then head into Fusion. And now we are just using our adjustment clip, but we can still see what it is going to be adjusting on the background, which is just our product and the background. What I'm going to do is go Shift Spacebar and type in Transform. Now, once I have my transform node right here, in order to create an anim curve, all I need to do is come over here to Size, right click, go to Modify Width, and click Anim Curves. And as you can see, something happens immediately. It's going to go, if I actually play this through, all it's doing is zooming from 0 all the way to 5 right now. And that's just kind of the default setting that it'll always do anytime you add an anim curve. So if you want to go ahead and now play with this, all we have to do is head over to modifiers, and now we can start dialing our anim curve. So you can see our scaling is going all the way up to 5, and it's starting at 0. So right now we're going all the way up to 5, and it's starting at 0. So what I want to do is animate that so it doesn't go that far. So my scale, I want this just to scale in times 2. So now let's go ahead and play that. Now it's going to scale all the way up to 2, from 0 all the way up to 2. Okay, now my offset, I actually want this to start at 1. So now, if you look, I have my offset starting at 1, which is, instead of, we had it starting at 0, so it's at a 0 scale right now. Right now, I want it to start at 1, and then I want it to scale up 2 times. So this is up to 2. So now if I play this, you'll see that this will scale up to 2. And it's going to go for the duration of the clip. Now, that's a kind of boring transition right there. But what we can do also is just change these easings, and then we can also change these to however we want. So you have different ways that you can change that transition. Let's go ahead and just do duration, and let's just keep it linear. And so that is currently our duration. We can also do a mirror, which is really cool. So it's going to go ahead and scale into 2 and then scale back. And if you look at my adjustment layer, now it's going to do exactly that. It's going to scale up and then scale back down to the exact length of however long this adjustment layer is. And so now I have a quick animation right here that I've just created. that I no longer have to keyframe, and I can just add this into all of my projects. Inside of my power bins, I like to create a folder called adjustment layers. If you don't see your power bins, click this little 3 dots up here and turn on show power bins. What a power bin is every time you open up a project within DaVinci Resolve, these are files that will always be there that you can access and use. And what I like to do is create a folder called adjustment layers, and I can now grab this adjustment layer and put it inside of that power bin. And every time I open up a project, I will now have access to this adjustment layer. So I'm going to go ahead and just rename this to zoom, zoom in, zoom out. So now if I were to grab this adjustment layer, all it's going to do is that exact zoom in and zoom out. And if I increase this, it'll zoom in and zoom out, do it based on how big the adjustment layer actually is. And so now, instead of having to do a whole bunch of keyframes and stuff, I now have a whole bunch of just simple anim curves adjustment layers that I can create to do a whole bunch of different effects, different logos, on animations, on different videos, anything that I would like. And if I shorten it, it'll go faster. Of course, I can always go into here and just play with those adjustments inside of Fusion. So if I want this to not mirror, if I just want it to zoom in, I can do that too. And I can also play with the time scale and the time offset. So that is anim curves. And the cool thing about this too is you can also just add a whole bunch of other anim curves to this. So right now we just have a simple scale. Let's go ahead and head over to our tools, grab the angle. Let's right click, go to modify width, and add an anim curve to the angle. If I go over to my modifiers, now you can see I have an anim curve for size and I have an anim curve for angles. So let's go ahead and just play that. You can see it is just rotating at 360 degrees for the duration of the clip. We don't want that. So I'm going to go over to my scale and I am going to go ahead and turn this down to, let's start at 0 for now and play that and see what happens. Perfect. Nothing is happening. Now, for the duration of this clip, what I want it to do is, let's say something like, let's do a 90 degree spin. So now, when I play this, it's going to spin 90 degrees as it zooms in. And as you can see, I do have some clipping. Looks like I'm having some clipping over on this side. So maybe what I'll do is just grab this time offset and just offset this just a little bit in one direction. And now you can see that offset basically starts the rotation at a slightly different time. Another thing that we can do is just also decrease this rotation a little bit so that way we're not getting clipping. So now we have a scale and rotation. So if I would like to, one more thing that I can do with this if I want to is I can come into here and I can use motion blur and add some motion blur, and now this clip will have some motion blur with those anim curves also. Now there is also another way in here. We can create a custom curve, and this just allows you to go ahead and adjust that curve a little bit more to make it a little bit more what you want it. So if I click these handles and I click this in and click this guy over here, it's going to go ahead and smooth out that rotation a little bit. We can do the same thing on the sizing. Again, if you do this, it's going to always do it inside of the adjustment layer that you have. Let's click that and click this, and let's see what that does. So now that is our animation. Super sweet, super smooth. We do have a little bit of clipping down there, but in order to fix that, all we have to do really is just increase the size of this background a little bit. And now let's look at that animation. And we have this super simple animation that I can go ahead and drag, and it will do that animation for me every single time. If I don't want it to affect this layer down here, all I have to do is just pre-compose it to this layer. So let's go ahead and see that. I'm going to go here and do a new compound clip right there. And now it just does it to that clip. And it won't affect the bottom clip right here. So now you can see how much faster you can create simple animations with anim curves versus keyframing everything. Because now instead of that, all I have to do is just grab these different effects that I have right here, and I can toss them on my timeline. And these will instantly create different effects for me that I no longer have to keyframe and I can add really quickly. And that is anim curves. So if you like this type of content or if you like this tutorial, please like and subscribe. And well, let me know what you want to see next. Well, sick, awesome, thank you, love you, bye.